Hi family, welcome back. How are you guys doing? This video is about the time in drunk driver, intoxicated motorist totaled my grandmother's vehicle. Good old Aunt Maud. We called her Aunt Maud. Everybody call her Aunt Maud. Her kids call her Aunt Maud. The grandkids grew up and call her Aunt Maud. We just know her as Aunt Maud. We didn't call her grandma or granny. But this is a granny story about my grandmother who lived in Flatbush at the time. This was in the 90s. And she had this old Caprice. Those cars used to look like the police cars back in the day. In fact, that's what they used to have, Caprice. And I don't know if that car was in the 80s. I don't know how old the car was, but I know it was old. Because back then they were square. They look like boxes. It wasn't like the rounded car. So this is roughly 92, somewhere around there, because I was in college. Mind you, my grandmother had her license. She had her license, but she doesn't drive. She just would have the car parked from one side to the next. So in Brooklyn, New York City, you do street cleaning. So Tuesday, Thursday would be a street day, and I think Monday, Friday, something like that. But whatever this side sanitation gonna come and clean, that side has to be vacant. Otherwise, you'll get a ticket. So all my grandmother would do is move the car from one side of the building to the next, one side of the building, in front of the building to the next. She doesn't drive that car. And the car just sit there, sit there, sit there. She'll go to the store, go wherever, go to church, but she wouldn't use the car. If she go into the supermarket, she'll push her little shopping cart, go up the block, go to Seatown, all these places on Flatbush, and pick up her little bottles, go to the fruit stand. So basically that car was just there, insured and just there. There, this big old car, looked like a boat, So that car could have been about 10, 15 years old because it was the square type. So now the car's parked this time directly in front of her building where this drunk driver comes speeding down the block and slam into the back of her vehicle. And the bottles that she would collect, she would keep them in the car. So she would put them in the trunk, put them wherever. And we don't know why she collecting these bottles, because she forever not going to the bottle depot to exchange them. But anyway, she used her car for storage with the bottles in there. So bags and bags of bottles in the car. Here comes the man, slam into her vehicle, unoccupied. Just to get that clear, so nobody got hurt. Unoccupied in front of her building, parked. The man come driving down the block, slam into the car, and bottles everywhere on the sidewalk. Bottles flying all over the place because the man totaled the car and pushed the car up, maybe on the sidewalk a little bit. But anyway, it was total. So the cops came, and the man can hardly stand up. He can hardly speak. He can hardly speak because he's intoxicated. He's drunk. And my grandmother spot this right away. By the time she run downstairs, she wanna hem the man up. She wanna hem him up. People begging for this man. Mind you, my grandmother was about 5'3" on a good day, maybe 5'3". Usually she's the smallest person in stature in the room, especially around the family. She's small. And this man is drunk. So the cops came and they see the man drunk. But I guess it was almost the end of tour. I don't know. Like I said, this is back in the day. This is in the 90s, And the cops came and they knew they had a bag. You call that a bag? Like, it's trash. You're really not really excited about this car accident when you get to the scene. You're looking at the car, you're like, man, you might have to tow this car. This guy looked drunk. whatever the case is. So my grandmother wants to lay hands on this man. If anybody remember Aunt Mart, my grandmother, I used to call her Medea when Medea came out. I have a cousin who call her the Brat. And her personality is in between Archie Bunker and Mr. Jefferson. Think about those two characters. Mr. George Jefferson and Archie Bunker from All in the Family. She's around that way where she verbally like those men. So her mouth has no filter. And the cops clearly see the man is drunk. But I know they want to just kind of do the paperwork and pretend they don't see this man is drunk. And my grandmother is so persistent and adamant about this man fixing her car and this man going to jail for being drunk. Because at some point, he even had to lean up, you know, like on the stop sign or on the car because he can't stand straight. He's intoxicated. And when that man act like he in gibberish, my grandmother reaching over the cops to smack this man, to connect fists to this man. My father had to grab her and ask her, Ma, you want to go jail? You know, because she want to grab up the man. It's that time when the cops say, you know what, let me arrest this man. So they finally put cuffs on him, arrested him. Probably DWI, whatever they charge him with. Sorry. And she went to court. She did not play. She went all the way. That car got totaled. They towed her car, got rid of it, and she made sure that insurance company pay up and got her check for her car. Even though she wasn't driving the car. Like I said, the car go from one side to the next, one side to the next. When you see her drive it here and there, that was a sight to see. Almost like Estelle Getty from the Golden Girls. Think of Estelle Getty driving and her feet look like they can hardly reach the pedal or whatever, and that big old boat coming down Foster Avenue and them streets in Brooklyn. But that's good old granny. When I used to work, the girls used to ask me, Barrett, what mood you in today? Which granny mood you in? Which granny is coming in this morning? Or tell me what happened to your granny. Tell me something what your grandmother did. Because it's always a never-ending story with good old Aunt Maud. And her car get it smashed up by this drunk driver. And the poor man had to pay. You know? But I just wanted to share that little story there, granny's story.